Okay, this is week 5, day 4. You're going to be working with worksheet 134 on the front, homework 134 on the back, and this is dealing with a new rule for us called the changing rule. Okay, so we do have a new wall card for this. Again, keep in mind that your reference booklet will have this wall card in it to help you through this process. But let's take a careful look at what the changing rule wall card says. If a root word ends with a Y after a consonant, change Y to I before adding a suffix. So let's take a look at this first. When you have silly, does this Y come after a consonant? Yes, it does. It comes after consonant L. Okay, so before we add suffix ness to silly, we're going to change that I or that Y to an I. All right, so it comes after a consonant, change it to an I. Now we have silliness. Let's look at the next one. Play plus suffix ed. Does this Y come after a consonant? No, it doesn't. It comes after a vowel. So are we going to change it to I? No, we're not. We're only changing it to an I if it comes after a consonant. Okay, now notice the exception. It says, except for suffixes beginning with I. Okay, so if it's a suffix that you're adding that begins with an I, you're not going to change that Y to an I because that would look silly. And we're going to talk about that in just a little bit. So this is the rule that we are working with today, is the changing rule. So let's start by taking a look at what we have over here. Okay, can you identify what the base word that we're working with is? If you said empty, that is correct. Our base word is empty. Our suffix is ness, which means full of. Okay, so we're going to figure out how we need to spell emptiness based on this changing rule that we just discussed. Okay, is this Y followed by a consonant? Yes, it is. It's followed by a T. Okay, so we know from this changing rule that if it's followed by a consonant, we're going to change that to an I before we throw that suffix on there. Does this suffix start with the letter I? No, it doesn't. Okay, so therefore, the correct word would be E-M-P-T-I, because we have to change this Y to an I because it comes after consonant T, and then we're going to add suffix ness for emptiness. Okay, now I want you to take a look at this word that we've created for just a second. If you box your suffix ness and you pull it away, look at that carefully. Does that look like the spelling that we know for the word empty? No, it doesn't. But because of the changing rule, we had to change that letter from a Y to an I in order to make the proper spelling. So we do technically still have a base word left behind because this rule is what made us have to change that letter. So this is going to be a little bit of a different situation when you're looking for if there's a word left behind, because you're going to have to consider the changing rule and determine, well, it's not spelled like empty like I know it, but it involved the changing rule. So therefore we do have a base word left behind, empty. Okay, so that's just one example of how that works. Let's take a look at a couple more things. Okay, can you identify what the base word is? Yes, happy, suffix est. Remember, suffix est is comparing more than two, and it's the one with the most. So if you are the happiest, then you are the most happy. Okay, so we're going to identify what we need to do here. Okay, for starters, does this Y come after a consonant? Yes, it does. It comes after consonant P. Okay, does this suffix start with an I? No, it doesn't. So we know that we're going to have to change that Y to an I. All right. Now, some people say drop the Y, change it to I. Okay, however you want to do that, just know that you have to change that Y to an I. So let's go ahead and take a look at what that then creates. Happpiest. So same situation as before. Box your suffix, and if you look at it, you know that's not the correct spelling of happy, but you then realize that the changing rule had to apply here, which is why that was changed from a Y to an I. Okay, so technically you do still have a root or base word left behind. We just had to use the changing rule in order to make this come out correctly. Okay, so that's another example of change the Y to I and add your ending. Okay, all right, let's try another one. Okay, identify the base word. Party is correct. Identify your suffix, ing. Suffix ing means it's happening now. Okay, so you got party plus suffix ing. All right, let's take a look at this. The Y. Is it followed by a consonant? Yes, it is, followed by consonant T. Look at the suffix. Does the suffix start with an I? Yes, it does. So since that suffix starts with an I, what does that mean? That's correct. That means we are not going to change that Y to an I, because having two I's together for partying, not going to work. Okay? So at this point, you are just going to take party and you are going to add on suffix ing, and you have the word partying. Okay? All right, let me take a look at another. Let's do this one. Okay, look at it, see if you can identify your base word or your root word. Yes, it's joy with suffix full, which means you're full of. Okay, so joy plus full. This Y, does it come after a consonant? No, it doesn't. It comes after the vowel O. All right, so are we going to change that to an I? No, we're not, because it comes after the vowel O. And if you look at the suffix, it doesn't start with an I anyways. So joyful. Okay, you just put those two together and there you have it. Okay, all right, now I will say this. There are a few different words in the English language that don't match up to this rule. Okay, and we know that when we have words that don't match up to any of our rules, they are called what? That's correct. They're called sight words. You just have to memorize them because they're not going to match any of the rules. So let's take a look at this first one. And I just wrote it up there together with the base word and with the suffix. Okay? The Y. Does it come after a consonant? Yes, it comes after consonant L. Okay? Suffix nest does not start with an I. So in your mind, you think, oh, we need to change that Y to an I. Not for this word. Okay, so this is one of the ones that doesn't match that spelling pattern. So when you see slyness, that means you're sneaky. If you're sly, and you add suffix ness, that means you're full of being sly or sneaky. Okay, so that's one that you just have to memorize because it does not match what we just covered as far as this changing rule goes. Okay, let's look at one more. Shyly. Okay, the little girl shyly entered the cafeteria. You know what shy means, nervous, scared. Suffix ly means full of. So the girl was full of shyness. Okay, the Y, is it followed by a consonant? Yes, it is, followed by consonant H. Okay, so that would tell you you need to change that Y to an I, but not for this word. So again, another example of a sight word that you just have to memorize because it doesn't match this changing rule that we just covered. Okay, so just consider that and think about that. Let me know if you have any questions about the changing rule.